A friend of my dad's would babysit me sometimes when I was little. Mom wasn't in the picture, and he used to tell a story to me that scares the absolute shit out of me to this day. Dad's friend, I'll call him Bob, is driving a rig out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Oregon. He has to make the delivery by the following morning, so he decides to just drive through the night. It's like 1 a.m. No one else is out on the roads. Hasn't seen another car in probably 100 miles. He's literally in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, the whole entire sky lights up. Instantly, like daylight. Bob fucking slams on the brakes. Has no idea what the hell is going on. Everything stays lit up for a good solid 10 seconds. He can see everything. Whatever's happening, it's not lightning. It doesn't stop or flicker at all. Bob hunkers down, anticipating imminent nuclear devastation. Suddenly, the sky goes dark again. No sound, no blast wave. He sits there in the middle of the road waiting for almost 5 minutes, then decides to keep going. Figures it was a meteor or something. Goes about 2 miles up the road and sees a car with its flashers on, stopped in the middle of the road. Stops a good distance away from it. There's not enough room to go around it. Front end of the car is crumpled like it hit something. Bob figures they probably hit a deer that got spooked whenever the meteor went over and ran into the road. He gets out of the cab and goes to see if the driver is okay. Driver is sitting on the ground by the driver's side door. Has his knees up and is resting his head on his arms. "Hey buddy, you okay?" Bob calls. He stops about 10 feet away for seemingly no reason. Something about the whole situation feels weird. Bob is one of those guys that always listens to his gut, so he stays put. "God, my head is killing me," the guy says. But he doesn't lift his head up, so it's muffled. "Did you hit a deer?" Bob asks. He's getting more and more uneasy. Something's wrong. But he still can't figure out what exactly it is. The guy says he thinks he might have hurt his head. Asks Bob to please help him. Bob takes a step forward, but his instincts are going apeshit. He looks at everything again. And that's when he notices it. The fucking car is all wrong. It looks like what someone thinks a car looks like. It has all the right pieces, but there's nothing extra, if that makes sense. Bob says it looked like a cheap Hot Wheels knockoff. It just looked wonky and wrong. He looks around at the back of the car and realizes that not only is there no license plate, there's not even a trunk. It's just one solid piece of material with taillights put in it. There's no manufacturer or model names. Bob knows cars, and this thing is nothing he's ever seen before. From where he's standing, he can see there's no tailpipe or even hubcaps. It's just the shape of a car. He starts to back up and the guy asks him for help again. Bob tells him he can't help him and that he'll call a tow truck when he gets to the next town. The guy lifts his head and looks at Bob and tells him he thinks he might have a concussion. something is really, really wrong with the guy's face. But again, it takes a second for Bob to figure it out. The next part is exactly how Bob described it. Everything on the man's face was where it should have been, in their normal positions. He looked totally normal. Except for the fact that his eyes and mouth were on upside down. Bob goes apeshit and sprints back to his rig. Climbs in and locks the door just in time for the man to slam into the door behind him. How the fuck did he get there so fast? He knocks on the glass and smiles at Bob, but because his mouth is upside down, it looks like he's screaming. Tells Bob to open the door so he can come in. Bob fucking floors it. Doesn't care if he hits the guy or not. His truck easily pushes the car out of the way. Whatever it is, it's light and it makes no sound when he hits it. Unfortunately, it's an anticlimactic ending. Bob got where he was going fine, with no other problems. My dad knows the story, but I don't think he believes it. But Bob tells it to everyone he meets, so he obviously does. He's absolutely adamant about the guy being an alien. Years later, I heard about the Thatcher effect, and nearly had a fucking heart attack when I saw it. I showed one of the pictures to Bob, and he wouldn't even look at it. He says, it's exactly what the guy looked like.
Little brother is really into astronomy. He's about 7 years old. Likes to look at the stars and watch things. About 3 weeks ago, he spent literally the entire night looking at one part of space from his room. Never once moved. Didn't even eat. When he gets up about noon the next day, I asked him what he was looking at. I was looking at the screaming stars. What are you talking about, you little brat? There's a place I found where if you look at it, you can hear screaming. No way. I'll prove it to you. Wait until about 11 at night. Telescope hasn't moved since the other night. Look into it. Hear very faint screams. Eventually gets louder. Have to look away. I noped out and told our mom that she should take away his telescope. I'm never going to look at the stars again.
I live in rural North Nevada. There's gold in them hills. No, but really it sucks. I was hanging with 3 bros, drinking at the house, and we call up some friends. It's desert party time. We drive into nowhere on a dirt road so we can shoot targets and sit and listen to obnoxiously loud music. 30 miles of driving, completely stark barren desert. The dirt road ends at no significant location. And wow, that's weird. A bunch of other guys met us there, and there are some hot-ass girls here, man. We set up tables and chairs and get the loudest car stereo going. Everyone is drinking and firing rifles into the hills. The shit's crazy. The girls hate the guns, and they're pretty much useless. Some half-dozen weed-smoking members of our crew nip off to smoke a blunt, but we need to go to the top of the tallest nearby hill to acquire the best smoking spot. And we get to the top, and the hill overlooks a valley, and on the side of the opposite of us, holy shit. There is an older structure in the distance, maybe half a mile. It looks like a farmhouse. Oh, it's time to explore. We gather everyone, and this is going to be awesome. It is still early evening, still light out. As the entourage gets closer to the farmhouse, it becomes clear that it's really, really fucking spooky. The females are too scared to enter the place because of the front door. Jesus fucking Christ. It's a 1940s era, 2-story, very fancy farmhouse. Everything is thrown all over the place. It is absolutely covered in rat shit and decades of undisturbed dust. However, what is disturbing is that everything is still there. Pillows, blankets, chandeliers, books, furniture, pictures, paintings, even an old film reel projector and screen. These people were obviously very wealthy. But in 70 years, the property has been pillaged, but none of this shit was stolen, sold at an auction, destroyed, retrieved by friends or relatives. The antique cars sit rusting into the ground, out in front with all the parts still on it. Old school mint green refrigerator and door open. Desiccated, modified, ancient food remains. Nah, man, this is not right at all. How did this happen? I started to get creeped out. Wardrobes filled with World War II era looking clothing. I don't know the significance of the farmhouse or the story. The thing is, I felt like the farmhouse was a very bad place for reasons I did not really understand. I mean, nothing bad happened at the farmhouse. It was just a little odd, but absurd shit went down that night. And it started with the farmhouse. I went from drinking beers and having a good time to freaking the fuck out. The sun was starting to go down, so we needed to get back to the party camp. It was barbecue time, whipping burgers and steaks up on the grill. Man, that shit was delicious. My friend Dan has lived down the street from me for our whole lives. Essentially, we've known each other since elementary school. Dan is fat as shit, but funny, so it's tolerable. He comes up to me and quietly says that he wants to go home. I try to get him to tell me what is up, but he doesn't give me a straight answer. I'm sure he was freaked out by the farmhouse like I was. But I was eating Jell-O off a girl's stomach, so I really didn't give a shit. Today was a good day after all, so I brought a lot of cut wood, and my friend and I, we started the bonfire. The light of the bonfire illuminates someone fucking walking towards us in the desert. They aren't even walking along the direction of the road. Everyone essentially shits their pants, turning the music off and scrambling, thinking it was an axe murderer, or even worse, a cop. Yeah, worse. It is just this fucking dude in a hoodie, walking in the middle of the pitch black desert, somewhat drunk and confused. In light of the strange circumstances, we're relieved that this is someone relatively friendly, and he was about our age, maybe no older than 20. We tell him that he scared the shit out of us, and we asked him what he was doing here. He told us hiking. Do you know how creepy that is? Someone says, referencing the fact that he was walking around randomly in the desert plains, in the dark, by himself. Yeah, he's a creepster. We made several jokes calling him a creepster, but he seemed like a quiet but good-natured fellow and laughed with us. We asked him to hang out with us and got him a beer. This guy had strange mannerisms, like a drug burnout, and a scar on his mouth like a cleft lip scar or something. I'm so fucking stupid. The whole time, the hoodie guy's acting in a strange way, like he's waiting at a DMV or sitting in a dentist's office or something. I don't know how else to describe it, honestly. I remember thinking that he's probably just awkward. It starts to sink in for me, maybe 20 minutes later, that something incredibly wrong is going on. I started to feel panicked. I start to pack my shit away, and it's past midnight, and some people have already left. I tell my friend that we're about to leave this place, and that we should smoke before we all hit the road. I tell him get Dan, because he's always down to smoke. Dan is completely missing. Where the fuck is Dan? We ask everyone. We asked them when the last time they saw him. We walked around the area with flashlights, thinking he had to call his mom, or he pissed his pants, or he was taking a shit out in the desert. We blew up his phone with calls and text messages, but no response. I drove around with my friend with our brights on, honking and just trying to find Dan. 45 minutes later, nothing. Dan is gone. We hope and pray that Dan was serious about leaving, and that he got a ride home with the guys who left earlier. Now we really need to leave, right now. We can drop by his house to see if he was there, but for some reason, everyone assumes that we will take care of the hoodie guy. They get in their cars and we say goodbye. I'm the driver, and I would feel like an asshole leaving the hoodie guy out there by himself in the desert. How would he get home? How did he get out here, honestly? I offer to get him a ride, and I'm actually swearing on the trip home. My other friend asks him where he lives. He gives us verbal directions to a street. Calais de la Plata. My stomach drops instantly. That is the street where both Dan and I live. And my other friend is just a short distance away. Holy fucking shit. We say nothing. There's no, oh wow, we live there too, or how long have you lived there? The rest of the ride is silence. We bring him to the major intersection, just a block away from where Dan lives, and we drop him off, and he thanks us. We go to Dan's house, and there's his mom, but no Dan. Not wanting to worry her, we don't tell her or call the cops or anything. He must have gone off to a party with some other group. I called Dan in the morning, and I think it was one of the most emotional conversations I ever had in my life. I was literally in tears. I don't know why. It wasn't sadness. Dan's story is as follows. He watched us leave the party camp last night. He said goodbye to us. He says that we left abruptly with the hoodie guy. I asked him, Dan, where were you last night? You were gone for at least 2 hours, and we spent almost one of those 2 hours looking for you in the desert. And he says he was there the whole time. I tell him, no, you weren't. You couldn't have been. And I ask him, did you take a shit for 2 hours or something? And he says I was there the whole time. Completely without words, I spend a lot of the time just sitting in a chair thinking over what happened. And then I call my other friend who was with us. And he has a much worse story. So we go over to see our friend Brent, because Brent was one of the guys with us. He brought all the girls, and all those girls were over his house. When we went to see him, they say we never looked for Dan. They say that Dan was never missing. He was there the whole time, and we left before he did. They say that we arrived with the hoodie guy, and that he was with us in our car when we got there. I try to calm down and explain to them that that's impossible. We arrived with Dan. Why did you call him the creepster? I ask her. I don't know. He was just really quiet and had a weird scar. No, you fucking saw him walk out the desert. He walked out of the pitch black darkness. You were fucking there. My other friend and I were yelling at the top of our lungs, and they don't seem to understand what we're upset about. They keep telling us to calm down. They don't remember how strange it was, and that he was in the middle of the desert. But they tell us that he came with us. So as of now, Dan doesn't really hang out with us anymore. He was always a fun guy to be around, but his mom says he's going through some personal struggles. But since March of 2012, he doesn't really even talk to me or my other friend anymore. Sometimes, I wonder if my friends have some sort of amnesia or collective blocking. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Dan when he was gone for 2 hours. And sometimes I wonder if the hoodie guy was even human at all.
Be me. 2 weeks ago, out at the deer lease with my friend. He says, "Hey Anon, I'm going to head out." I'm bummed because it's only 5 p.m. and we're supposed to spend the rest of the night out here. 10-4, dude, catch you later. He leaves the blind and heads off through the woods towards the trucks. About 40 minutes later, I hear a tapping on the door. Look out the slide on the door. It's my buddy. He doesn't say shit, so I just let him in. "Thought you were heading out, man. Knew you weren't going to quit on me." Notice he doesn't have his rifle. "Where's your gun, dude?" "Oh, left it at the truck." "Oh well. Shit, you may as well gone home." He just smiles and sat there. Didn't say a word, except for the occasional grunt of acknowledgement and of interest. It weirds me out because he's normally a pretty social guy, always talking about UFC shit or Mass Effect. I ask, "You okay, bro?" All he says is, "Don't feel good, that's all." About 5:30 a.m. he says, "Hey Anon, I'm going to head on out." Before I can even reply, he's gotten up and exited the blind, and I can hear him tromping through the woods. At the same time, I thought, well, thanks for scaring off the deer, fuckwit. But now that I think about it, he wasn't walking towards the trucks. He was walking kind of off the way. About 7 a.m., I decide, fuck it, I give up. Pack my shit and head to my truck. His truck is gone, so I think nothing of it. The reason I'm bringing this up is I talked to him earlier today and was asking if he felt better, and he looked at me confused and said, "What do you mean, Anon?" "You know, after you came back to the blind, you said you weren't feeling good. Figured that's why you weren't running your mouth about Quatrain pussy." He looked at me like I grew a second head and said, "Anon, dude, I didn't come back to the blind. I drove home. Got home at 8 and went the fuck to bed." So yeah,